Hi, I'm Kendall Trotter.
And I'm Steve Hawks.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Las Vegas Real Estate Update. Today's update is part 2 of a recent one that we have done about builder incentives, and maybe some of the builders were kind of walking the line there. Of
Walking the line. I think they jumped over. I think it's been quite clear due to her interview.
When we stopped our last edition, we were out of time, but I was asking, hey, I'm just, say I'm just your average Joe home buyer that was reading the newspaper, went in and was advertised, hey, I'd love to have a new Mercedes, or I want my credit cards paid off, or I would love to have a free swimming pool with this home. Is that for real? According to data, yes, it was.
Yeah.
But the question is, was it for real? Yes, it was. Was it ethical? Maybe not on maybe their part, because the average consumer is going to see that and,
Well, the consumer has promised, hey, buy this house and you'll get a car, you'll get this, you'll get your credit paid off. I know some buyers that the builder, they charged all their furniture for the new house, and then the builder paid it off. Okay? So the buyer isn't a professional. They do not know what's going on as far as the transaction. They don't know that this isn't legit. They don't know that this is mortgage fraud. Anytime you hide something from the lender, no matter how you do it, it's fraud.
And I think that we need to touch on a little bit. Hey, I'm Kendall, love your home, heard you're giving away a free swimming pool.
Right.
We'd love to do it. Now, if it's fraud, how are they burying that?
Well, because you can buy homes legally, and the builder can pay your car off and get you a pool legally. There are legal ways to do that. But in this instances, and 99% of the instances that we're seeing, it was not done legally. The reason why we know this is because Dana told us that they were taking out the addendum.
Absolutely.
Well, obviously, if they're taking out the addendum, they are conspiring to hide it from the lender. Now, this particular company, didn't they have over $100 million in sales in Las Vegas alone?
Correct. We had record years, I would say several years that I worked there, wherein we had such record years, you guys, that they sent us to Hawaii.
Wow.
That was the perk, from all the instances, they did so well that, there was lots of perks, so to say.
Well, they have to compete with the other builders. So obviously, if we were speaking earlier, this was not an original idea from this particular builder. Am I correct?
Correct. I would say that I was in direct contact with how this whole, shall we say, scheme came about. One of the sales agents was an acquaintance of another sales agent from another nationally known. These are the top 10 builders, you guys. We're not talking about a small home builder. All of these builders are publicly traded on the stock market. They're well-known home builders. You say their name and everybody would instantly know.
And it's one of this builder you're speaking about. It's public knowledge now that they are being investigated by the FBI.
Correct. They actually have shut down most of the builders, and like I touched on before, they own their own title companies. They own their own mortgage companies. It was easier to hide these schemes and incentives because of the affiliation they had with their vendors.
But the real losers in this whole thing is the guy who actually got his credit cards paid off, because now he owns a home. And I think what we see a lot, and we've done episodes about this, there are so many new home neighborhoods that you can drive down the street and there's one car in the driveway on the whole street.
They're ghost
Now we know why.
towns.
Yeah.
Now we know why. 100%.
People
We knew
are
why.
walking.
Most realtors already knew why.
But-
Now we know. Now the public knows why from an insider.
But people are walking from them, because if they bought that house for $400,000 and they got $50,000 in incentives or whatever the number was, then it was $350,000 real value, okay? Then the market tanked a little bit.
Well, now we know why the market tanked. It was never worth that in the first place.
These values were all inflated due to the, like I said, incentive packages that were inclusive with the transaction of buying this home. You weren't buying a home, you were buying a package, which included a car, your debt being paid, a swimming pool. It was, like I said, it goes way beyond than just buying a home.
So the prices were manipulated. So when people expect, so the person, to answer your question, who's getting hurt the most? the person that bought in that community, not knowing that everybody else, or a large majority of them, bought it fraudulently, because now they're stuck with a house that they paid $500,000 for, that's now worth $300,000. And it was never worth $500,000 because even in a hot market, the builders weren't selling them for $500,000. They were selling them for $300,000 with a $200,000 incentive. And we were discussing earlier, how many realtors would have sold these homes if they weren't getting a 14% commission? I know several buyers that would find a realtor to go buy one of these homes with a 14% commission.
A caveat to that would say, to anyone who's, obviously I think that everybody should use a professional when they're buying a home, because it is a long and hard process.
A professional would know. A professional would have known about this.
But it's also okay for a consumer to say, how much are you being compensated? And they'll have to answer you. And actually, it has to be put in writing right from the title company. So it's okay to say, hey, you're my buyer's agent. What do you expect to be compensated? And look for an honest answer.
That's funny you bring that up, because Dana has a story about how the builders would offer higher commissions instead of the incentives to the buyers. Go
Correct.
ahead.
This is this is one of the more unfortunate ways that the builder did scheme out. You could come in with your buyer's agent and think that your agent was representing you in an honest and professional way. However, you were actually overpaying for your home so that agent could get a higher commission.
That's my phone. I'll shut it off. Sorry. Okay. This whole thing has started a vicious cycle.
So back to that real quick. So, and there was a name for this at some builders. So an agent would call.
It was
Now, remind you, most agents do not do this, but there are some agents, and most of them were new at the time.
Correct.
They would call the builder and say, "Hey, I'm bringing in my client.
I want to be in the bucket."
Let's not tell them about the incentives. I want for a commission. Is that cool? Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. And it was, once again, inclusive on a separate addendum. They considered it a bonus. And, they were really defrauding the buyer, because the buyer could have gotten a free pool. The buyer could have gotten free upgrades in their home.
How was it hidden from buyers?
It was inclusive. Like I said before, we touched a little bit about part one, how they had the separate special addendum.
So the commission would be 3% on the HUD.
They would grant a typical 3% commission. However, the agent on the back end on a separate addendum was given a bonus with another 7-10%, or I seen bonuses all the way from $10,000 to $20,000 on one home. On top of the 3%.
I know of bonuses that were in excess of $100,000.
Correct. We all get these sheets in our in our mailbox, and everyone's seen the builder incentive sheets. They're not always truthful in the manner of there are hidden incentives.
And so the term for this would be throw it in the bucket.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Well, once again, we're out of time.
I would just like to hit on this whole thing. Steve and I have done numerous episodes on mortgage fraud, dealing with resale homes most of the time. And really appreciate you coming in, Dana.
No problem.
But it seems like when I talk about the vicious cycle, the new home builders are doing this, which causes the homes to skyrocket, which lends itself to resale homes skyrocketing, because resale homes always follow the new homes.
Trending.
If a 2,000 square foot new home is $400,000, then a 2,000 square foot resale home is going to be around $400,000.
Right.
So they go hand in hand as far as values go. So if you got one doing this, how can the other one not do this? And when you got one doing this, how can you have the other one not doing this? Once again, I think we're out of time, and my phone's ringing again. Next time I'll try to remember to shut it off. I'm Kendall Trotter.
I'm Steve Hawks with Dana Ellis.
Thanks for stopping in to this edition of the Las Vegas Real Estate Update.